Trojan Felly, what's up, man? USCJ here. It's the top of the morning. It's the top of the morning. I hope everybody is getting ready to get up, get out, and make some things happen this morning. Listen, this is a big time weekend this weekend. And you guys know we play University of Notre Dame. And look, this is a game that I feel confident about. And I'm going to tell you guys several reasons why I feel like USC will come out on the winning side. I don't feel like there are any butterflies. I don't feel like it's a situation where that I'm unconfident about the personnel that we have. I know if USC plays up to their potential, I believe with all my heart that USC will absolutely win this game. And it can really go in another direction as far as if USC start really putting major momentum on this Notre Dame team. So I want to talk about that specifically because Notre Dame, they haven't played from behind. And if we can just get up front, I think we'll be okay. We'll talk about that. I want to also address and talk about some recruiting. It's a massive recruiting weekend this weekend. Several recruits. One in particular that comes to mind is Madden Ferremo. You guys know out of J. Sarah, he is going to be visiting. I believe it's said to be that USC and Notre Dame are the two schools that he's possibly choosing from. So I think that USC absolutely can capitalize on this if they get the W. When we get the W, I'm not even going to say if. When we get the W, USC will absolutely, positively capitalize on this W with Madden Ferremo. And then when you look at the linebacker room, we'll be good. Of course, you guys know we got Jaden Porlight. He's coming as well. Of course, we got guys like Matai. He's a local guy. So the linebacker crew will be set in stone, and it will be a good linebacker crew. But we have to win this game. And when you look at this game as a whole, another reason I feel comfortable about this game is, when you look at the toughest game for Notre Dame, other than the Northern Illinois game that they lost at home, even though it was a close game, that's a game that just totally came unexpectedly for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, and they lost that game. But when you look at the rest of their schedule, of course, they beat Texas A&M, which was, a big time SEC team, if you will. That's the best win on the season. But when you just kind of look at and dissect their schedule, Notre Dame, other than Texas A&M, Notre Dame really hadn't played anybody. Of course, they played Georgia Tech, which I guess that's going to be the second best team on this schedule right now. Now, coming into the season, when they played Florida State, when they had Florida State on the schedule, Florida State was a team that was supposed to be a top 10 team. You guys know they had them in the top 10 for the longest time. But I want to go through the schedule because right now, I think if we say that anybody is battle tested, I'm going to say it's going to be USC. USC is more battle tested right now than Notre Dame. I'm going to look at their schedule real quick, and I want to talk about ours, and then I want to talk about the things that we need to do to win this game. And then I just want to touch on some recruiting. But when you look at Notre Dame, Texas A&M, of course, that was their win, followed by Northern Illinois. Then Purdue, they beat up on them in 66-7. Then Miami of Ohio. But look at the schedule: Purdue, Miami of Ohio. They almost lost against Louisville again. You guys know that they lost against Louisville last year, but this year they came and won by a score of by a touchdown, actually, 31-24. And so they barely came out of that game, and that was at home. Then they blew out Stanford. Then they had a somewhat of a close game, 31-13 against Georgia Tech. And then they played a team like Navy. They beat them 51-14. And of course, then they had Florida State. And then Virginia after Florida State. And then followed by Florida State, Virginia, you had Army. And so when you look at those games, and they talking about how, they've been able to stop the run. Well, most of those teams, a lot of those teams, when you look at Army, Virginia, Navy, all of those teams are like primarily run-based teams. And you never really had anybody to really pose a big-time threat, down the field from their schedule. I wouldn't say Florida State, was one to do it. Texas A&M, you guys know, I think they switched their quarterback around. And then when you look at the other part of the schedule, Louisville might have been a team that probably tried to stretch the field, but most of these teams really didn't try to stretch the field like the way I think USC can. and like the way I think we can have mismatches all over the field. We got some guys, of course, Deuce Robinson. I think, of course, Jacoby Lane. When you look at Zach Branch, of course, my favorite, which is Mekhi Lemon. Mekhi Lemon is a mismatch for anybody but Notre Dame, and I think they have somebody in the secondary that may be out. But when you look at our offensive players, with some of their defensive players, USC can absolutely move and groove and cause some mismatch plays. Now, here's the thing that I want to also look at. Notre Dame comes in as the number five team in the country. We heard the same type of energy when Penn State came into the Coliseum. Penn State was the number 4 team in the country. Penn State didn't beat us. USC beat themselves. We had the ball. It was tied up before we went to overtime. It was tied up. USC had the game pretty much won. And that was the number 4 team in the country. You guys remember prior to that game, USC, they said that, their run defense was the strength. Of course, you guys know they had the big, powerful edges, the edge guys that came off the edge. But USC had major success, very, very effective against Penn State in the run game. And so when you look at this team, well, I can argue that Penn State defense is just as good. That's the same type of defense that we're getting ready to face now. Now, why am I saying that right now? Because USC, what they were able to do versus Penn State, running the ball, it was absolutely phenomenal. And here's the question. Here's the thing that I want to really point out. Lincoln Riley, I believe that he's going to go in his bag and really cause some problems for this Notre Dame team to stay where he did with Penn State. USC lost that game 33-30, and that was in overtime. But when you look at the stats, when you look at what Woody Marks was able to do, Woody Marks was able to move and groove. He ran for 20 carries for 111 yards. And in that game, Mekhi Lemon had six receptions for 73 yards. So I think when you look at it from a run perspective, I think that USC, Miller Moss only threw for 220 yards that game, but and 2 TDs and 1 INT. But I think Jaden Mayava, if not, can have a better performance from a passing standpoint. And then I think he's going to add to that rushing standpoint. When you look at it, I don't think that we didn't have that factor in, and I know it could work because it didn't have that game in the game plan versus UCLA. However, the week prior, we knew that USC had success against Nebraska. We saw Jaden Mayava absolutely get some nice runs. We're gonna have to run the RPO. I think if we run the RPO, we run it effective. I think the USC can absolutely move and groove. I think some of that same game plan that we saw against Nebraska, and then some of that we saw against Penn State, I think we could put that into play, and I think USC is going to come out on top. And that's pretty much what I believe with this game, man. You guys can hit me in the comment section. You guys can tell me what you think. I think USC is in a situation now from a defensive perspective. I want you guys to consider this. Our defense is holding teams to under 21 points a game, 22 points a game. Now, if we could maintain that same thing, I think we win this game. I think we could score over 25 points against Notre Dame. When you look at some of the teams that they played against, I think from an offensive perspective, I think we're better than Louisville. I think if Louisville could put up 24 points, I think that USC could put up 24 points. And I really believe that. And yes, it was early on in the season, but I think if Northern Illinois could put up, they only put up 14 points. But like I said, if Louisville could put up 24 points, I believe that USC could put up 24 points. When you look at all these teams from an offensive perspective, and the fact that they didn't score, these are predictable offenses. These are Army, these are Virginia, these are Florida State, these are Navies. Even Georgia Tech still kind of runs that, somewhat of a different offense. I don't think USC is not even in the same category from an offensive perspective. Even though we're not as effective as we was last year, we're not those teams. And so I think that you got to factor in all those things and put all these pieces together. And I think USC can absolutely have some success. Yes, Marcus Freeman is a heck of a coach. He's a defensive-minded coach. I think they're moving and grooving in the right direction as a program. But I think that they come into the Coliseum, and I think it's going to be a problem. I think Lincoln Riley is going to go into his bag, and I think that it's going to be straight-up go time. And so you guys can drop those comments. You guys can tell me what you think. From a defensive perspective on our end, like I said, holding those teams to 21 points, and I think you're not going to stop everything on the run. They have an incredible running back in the name of Love. But I think that if we kind of control, contain, and force Riley Leonard to throw the ball, I think USC will be in some decent shape. He's not the best. He's not the best. He only has 1,900 yards or something like that on the season, if I'm not mistaken. I'll double check that. But I think USC is really going to be in some decent shape, man. So you guys can hit me in the comments. You guys can tell me what you think. I want to take a look real quick at this list for this weekend. There's some phenomenal guys. Now, I did get a text. You guys know I mentioned Carson Cox possibly coming. They had it on other sites as well that he was possibly coming. Now, his dad reached out to me yesterday. The message is kind of unclear, so I'm not sure if he's coming, if he's not coming. He said something about. Let me see if I can read this. He said they asked us for an OV and we said yes, and they never sent out the invite. I don't know what that means. So I don't know. He sent me this message that said that they said yes, that they sent out the OV, asked for an OV, and he says that they said yes. But then he says, but they never sent out the invite. So I'm not sure what that means, man. So that's the message I got. That came from, I think that's his dad, Kenny Cox. Yeah. So look, we'll see what happens, and we'll see what happens, man. Because I told you guys this before. Carson Cox is one of my favorite players, man. And, especially from the state of California, his spirit. And I'm expecting him. I would love to go ahead and get him locked, sealed, and delivered. Get this commitment. This weekend. So hit me in the comments, man. You guys tell me what you think. Christian Ingram from Covington, Georgia. He will be at USC, big time defensive lineman guy. Hold on, let me pull this stuff up because I got all kinds of stuff here. This weekend is going to be incredible. Okay, let me start off from my top here. Well, I got you, Christian Ingram, already. Then we got Corey Sims. He's the wide receiver commit for USC out of the state of Missouri. He's going to be there. Alex Payne out of the state of Georgia. He just committed. We flipped him from North Carolina. He's going to be there. And then here's the big one right here. This is the real big one right here. Matt Faremo, Jay Sarah, we have to get him. Look, we got to win this game, but we have to get Matt Faremo to this weekend. Romero Eisen, I think he just came off a visit to Georgia. Thank God he's going to be in the Coliseum. Listen, this is another reason why Lincoln Riley is going to be in his bag. We got phenomenal guys coming. Romero Eisen, Corey Sims, we got a good recruiting class. Like, we really have a good recruiting class. We got some powerful guys, but he's going to be here. And I mentioned Jaden Prolite, linebacker out of the state of Georgia. He's going to be there. Aaron Dunn, we flipped him from Utah. He's going to be there. RD lineman commit. We flipped him from Oklahoma. Floyd Bucard. He's going to be there this weekend. Tristan Castro, Upland product, baller, cornerback, 4-star, just got his 4-star. He was a 3-star, but I think he just got his 4-star. He's going to be there. You got Riley Wormley, Texas running back out of Dallas, Texas. He's supposed to be there. RJ Sermon, Rexel Cucamonga. I believe he's the number 1 or number 2 quarterback in the country. I just did a video of him last week. He's for the 2026 class. He's going to be there. Then you got Matt Ray Odrin. You guys know I interviewed him on this show. He's going to be there out of Sierra Canyon. Also, you got Josh Holland out of St. John Bosco. He's the 2026 class. He's going to be there. So this is stacked. Then you got lineman Makai Lee. He's from Hawaii. He's going to be there. I think it's Malachi. My fault. Malachi Lee. He's going to be there. And then you got lineman Ikani Bojopo. Excuse me if I mispronounce that name. I'm lost in the sauce with that name. But anyway, he's from Garner, North Carolina. He's a big-time offensive lineman. He's going to be there as well. Then you got offensive lineman from Cleveland, Ohio, Will Conroy. He's going to be there. Then you got Mark Bowman. He's a 2027 tight end. It's incredible. He's from modern day. That dude looks like a grown man. He's going to be there as well. And so, look, man, I think man, look, USC is we got to put on a show, man. We got to win this game. We got to put on a show. It's no ifs, ups about it. It is real go time. It's on the popping. Last game, we got a lot to play for. We could play spoiler right now for Notre Dame, but then not only that, we can finish out strong. 7 games, we get 7 games. Right now, we're at 6-5. Go to 7-5, win the bowl game, 8-5. It looks a little more respectable, man. If we could just go in on, knock this out, win this game, I think USC will be in some great shape, man. So look, I'm out of here, man. Happy Friday to everybody. Look, it's go time. Tomorrow, here we are. Now's the time, and the time is now. Football season is almost over. We can finish out strong. So look, I'm out of here. Until later on, everybody stay blessed. Fight on, fight on, fight on.